Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 2021 virtual conference. We are on the last session of the day. My name is Rachel Altum. I'm the online community manager for the Gypsy Nurse. I'm here with Steve, our
Hello
CEO.
again, Rachel.
Hello. Second time today.
Yes.
Great seeing you. So yeah, we have a great session today. I know that this is like a very popular topic. We did take a survey before the conference went on, and this was the #1 housing topic, and it's going to be RVs. So we found a great presenter to come on. I know, Steve, you have a few things that you want to say.
I do. Thank you. Once again, thanks for those that are joining us live. And as CEO of the Gypsy Nurse, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And I want to thank our travel nurse community for all that you do, particularly during this COVID pandemic. The Gypsy Nurse's mission is to support travel nurses. And we hope you find this session and the others we have planned this week to be informative and helpful in your travel nurse journey. Please remember to visit the gypsynurse.com Spring Virtual Conference agenda under the Events tab on our website for a full list of all of our virtual events this week. Please bookmark the gypsynurse.com as your source for travel nursing resources, including over 150,000 jobs from over 65 top agencies, housing options, and great content from experts published daily to help you on your travel nursing journey. As a reminder, all of these sessions will be recorded and available on demand on our website after each session, and they're available on our 2021 virtual events page. The Gypsy Nurse is the #1 destination for travel nurses, and we thank you for the support of our travel nurse community. I would like to thank travel nurse Katherine Hall, who is going to speak this evening about RV travel, something that is very appropriate. I think people are ready to get out and see the world and see the country while they're on assignment, and there's no better way to do it than being in an RV. So can't wait for Katherine to tell us about her experiences with RV travel. So Rachel, back over to you.
Yeah, definitely. And on top of that, we have some great giveaways that we are doing. The first one is if you sign up with the gypsynurse.com over here in this join section, you're going to be entered to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Like Steve said, if you come down to the events tab on the gypsynurse.com, come to Spring 21 Virtual Conference. We have another giveaway over here. Those ones are going to be together. So, you just scroll down to the bottom. And like Steve said, we have all of our previous sessions already on here. So if you missed it, even if it's an hour later and you missed it, you can still come to the gypsynurse.com, click on one of these tabs, whichever you prefer, and check those out. Be sure to still comment. We're still looking at the comments. People are still talking about it. So be sure to do that. And then you can also see the upcoming sessions. So tomorrow we're going to have how to pick the best agency and recruiter, which every day there's a question in the Travel Nurse Network group. Who is the best agency? Who's your favorite recruiter? So we're going to get some answers on that. More travel nurses living the minimalistic lifestyle. And then Paula leaving the bedside. So we definitely have some great things coming up. But once you get down to the bottom, you can fill this out and enter to win that $100 Amazon gift card. So if you register for the gypsynurse.com and for the conference, then you're going to double the entry. So be sure to do that. And then for today's session, if you comment, ask questions on any of the sessions today, including this one, you'll be entered to win another $100 Amazon gift card. So you basically have 3 ways to win. And yeah, so you can use that to buy any RV needs or put it towards your RV fund. Who knows?
Your RV decoration fund.
Yes. So let's bring on our presenter. She has been a nurse for 4 years and has been traveling for 2 years. She lives full-time in her fifth wheel RV with her husband and 2 cats. You can follow her Gypsy Nurse adventure on Instagram at hitched_and_hauling, and it's on her name right when she pops up. So let me bring her up. Hello, Katherine.
Hi,
Hey,
thank
Katherine.
you. Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Thank you for doing it.
And you got a beautiful backdrop. You don't have to do the green screen like everybody does with the real
life. All real life here.
And you are in Washington State, Katherine, right? You were saying earlier?
Yes. So we just got to Washington a couple days ago. I start my 6th travel nurse assignment this Monday in Auburn. So.
Awesome. Well, we will let you take it away, and everyone feel free to ask your questions, put them in the comments, and we'll be answering them throughout the thing.
Woohoo!
Right.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Katherine. My husband and I, we travel in a fifth wheel RV, and we tow it with a pretty large truck. So most of our housing is really done through campgrounds and RV parks, even mobile home parks. And just recently, we've started to try to find like private land that we stay on. So it's just really is actually more flexibility than you think with RV like housing. So you can find private land that, like, we're staying on private land now, and we found it through Facebook Marketplace. You can also use Airbnb. And it's been pretty, like, we have like our own like private area. It's like really nice to have our own space. And I think that's why we like RV life a lot, because we're not packing up like our house every single time and like moving it to a whole nother building and like having to go to like a whole nother town and be in like someone else's apartment. So it's nice to have like all of our stuff contained. And also with travel nursing, it's possible that you can get canceled and often, and with the RV parks and campgrounds, you can like get your monthly ratings like prorated, and there's less likely that you'll have to like be stuck in a lease with apartments. And so we also have our 2 cats, and we don't have to really worry about like people that don't allow pets at their apartments. So we don't have to worry about that. Let's see. I had some questions written here. So we also, when I first started, we got a old RV. It was about 10 years old. And that's more of like an affordable way to go in the beginning. If you just want to like test the waters and you don't want to like go all in and like buy a brand new RV. So we started out with a 10-year-old RV. We did some renovations to it to make it feel kind of like our own. And just to see if we really would like it. And then a couple months ago, we ended up selling that one and we went with a new one. So really you can't go wrong with having an older RV or a new one. And as far as like vehicle wise, we have the truck that tows our fifth wheel. And sometimes I will have my car with me. My last assignment, I didn't have my car. I didn't feel like I was going to use it as much because we were actually located in Flagstaff, Arizona, and there was like freezing a lot. And I thought I would need 4-wheel drive more often. So we just used the truck. But I am about to have my car shipped out here from Florida, and we'll be using that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in there. But a little bit more like background story from me. I'm originally from Florida. My first assignment was in North Carolina, and we have been traveling in the RV from the very beginning. We just went all in on the RV life. And then I went to Prescott, Arizona, and then from there we went to Olympia, Washington, all the way then to Virginia, and came back to Arizona, and now I'm back in Washington to start my 6th assignment. And it's been pretty nice to have the RV the whole time because we're able to have flexibility while we are moving and while we're camped and parked for 3 months. So our house acts as our vacation home, and it acts as our actual home. It's been like last week we were able to stay in Salt Lake City for a whole week, and it was nice to have everything we needed. We have everything packed for all seasons, ready for warm weather and winter weather. We are able to take our skis with us and any other camping gear and fun stuff that we'd want while we're out. And so some people have asked some apps that we use when we travel, and some ones that we do use are RV Parky and Camp and Diem, Good Sam, Harvest Host. Last summer was a really cool experience when we were traveling from my Washington assignment all the way back to Florida. We used Harvest Host with the RV, and we were self-contained and boondocked like the entire way from Washington all the way to Florida, using Harvest Host. And you're able to stay at places like wineries and breweries and distilleries. There's like farms. So that was a really fun experience, and to like get you from point A to point B and like make that a whole trip, instead of just like flying somewhere, having to drive straight through because you have your car and like stay in hotels. So that was really probably one of my most favorite memories from traveling. There's also things you can use like Hip Camp. That one is you pay like per site, but you can get on other private land. We used a Hip Camp one time, and we were able to stay in a really cool spot in Montana, like out in someone's field that you normally wouldn't get to do. So let's see. Some people have asked too about how your housing stipend works with living in an RV. It'd be the exact same as if you were renting an apartment. So if you picked your own apartment with your housing stipend, we would just use it for a campground or monthly rent on someone's land. So that is pretty much the same. Let's see. Rachel, do you guys have any other questions?
Yeah, it looks like we're getting a few. I asked one.
Oh, really? I don't know if I can't like see any questions.
Oh, okay.
Wait, there we go.
That's okay. Well, we can stay on. I know I have a lot of questions. We're starting to get some questions that come in too. So Katherine, we certainly can stay on and kind of, feed some of the questions to you to make it easier. I got a lot of questions.
Cool. Yeah. Now I like didn't have the comment section popped up. So now I see that there's questions.
No worries. Rachel, why don't you go with your question? You had two. I know you love cats and animals. So you wanted to ask about the cats, right?
So when you're driving, do your cats just like roam around, or do you usually kind of like cage them up so that way they're not just like jumping on you guys, or are they pretty chill?
So since our RV is, we tow it with a truck and we have a trailer. It's not usual that people like leave their pets in the trailer. So we do regular like car driving with ours. I don't like with all the slides in and everything, it's probably not safe to leave a pet in there. So we have like I have a thing called a pet tube. I like love it. It goes in my whole back seat. The cats just sprawl out. I'm able to fit their litter box in there. We can go for 8-10 hour drives and they're just chilling back there. So been pretty easy with that.
Yeah, I forgot that you said that you pull it. So that makes sense. I'm glad that you don't keep them in there.
So, Katherine, my question was just in terms of cost. You mentioned that you have I believe it was a used RV, correct? What is the price range? What can people expect to pay for people that are considering this lifestyle for travel nursing? What are we talking about in terms of cost?
Right. So the RV world ranges from all different types.
Yeah.
Your cheaper ones are going to be more of a trailer, because if you go the bus route or the Class C, you're paying for an engine on top of the trailer. Mm-hmm. So probably starting out, you'd want one that you tow. That would be cheaper. You can even find some that are, they range from all prices. Like there's been some Facebooks I've seen people find some for like $8,000 and they tow them with their 4Runner and they just go and they've got everything they need. Our used trailer that we bought we bought it for about $20,000. It was 10 years old, but it was a 38-foot fifth wheel. It was pretty big. And then you can go in and get a new one ranging from, $20,000 to $100,000, depending on exactly what you'd want. But you can go really cheap. Like I have friends that have like completely gutted Airstreams and they've made them beautiful and they didn't cost them much to do. Okay. So you really make it what you want.
Okay. Well, as I said, we've got some other questions here. Daniel has a two-part question. Number one, did you go from a house to a fifth wheel? And then his second part is, if yes, how did you decide to get rid of all your stuff? Are you using some sort of storage as well while you're on the road? Good question.
It is a great question. So we went from like a townhouse to a fifth wheel. So it was a 3-bedroom townhouse, and we purged a lot of stuff. We didn't want to have to leave a bunch of stuff at our primary residence. And we don't have a storage unit. So I got rid of my entire closet. It was a lot of work. And we really just picked, it took a couple months of planning to really figure out like what you need. And it took days where, you have more aggressive days where you give more stuff in the way, and then less aggressive days. But we definitely went from a kind of like a house to the fifth wheel, and just had to sell a lot and give a lot away.
Okay, cool. Krista has a question. Krista says, I know it's a personal decision, but what size RV would you say is the smallest you could be comfortable in for a length of assignment? And then she says she's looking at a 16-foot one. So the one she's looking at is not very big.
I mean, I really would say like it comes down to your basic needs. I don't even really think space is what matters the most. I think that what's important to me as a nurse when I come home is I love that I have a regular bathroom and a shower that I can. If you have a shower and access to water to like really like clean yourself off after a 12-hour shift, I think that's what's most important. You're going to spend a lot of your time outside anyways. There's been a lot of times where we don't really have cable hookup and our internet is spotty. So a lot of times we're just enjoying the outdoors. You don't really need to be in your RV. But if you can cook your favorite meals and you have a place that you can clean yourself off, I think that's all you need. And that doesn't take a lot.
Okay. Good advice there. And then Tammy asks, do you have a permanent home base like a house or an apartment?
Yes. So we have a permanent home still back in Clearwater, where we're originally from. So that's where we do my tax home and all that stuff. But we just try not to keep a lot of stuff there and really keep it minimal.
And my question to add on to that is, when you are on assignment, do you rent that out? Your permanent home?
No, we don't rent it out.
Okay.
No.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Tammy also asks, for those who don't have a truck, would you think a camper van would work about the same in your opinion?
Yeah, so the camper van idea is so awesome. I know there's probably going to be some other people talking about the camper van. But like I said, I just really want to be able to shower off at work. So there's some camper vans out there that they have the built-in shower and they have everything in there. They're just a little bit different with the amount of water that you can hold and like things like that. You're really taking minimalism to like an extreme amount of minimalism. And I think as a nurse, like a lot of these jobs nowadays are going remote, and that's lifestyle, like work lifestyle is different, but like nursing is still nursing, and you're still working a 12-hour shift, and it's still a job that's very taxing. And like we definitely still need like our own space, I think, to feel a little bit normal sometimes, since we're not like fully like a remote worker. So people do the camper van as nurses, and props to them. I like the setup I have now. But you can definitely do it. There's people out there 100% that do the camper van life.
What has been your, I guess, the biggest upside that you have found in terms of kind of doing the RV lifestyle? I mean, obviously at some point you made a decision to do this. What was your biggest surprise, or what was, the biggest upside to doing this that you found that you didn't expect?
The flexibility. I think I was surprised at how flexible it was going to be. So like the fact that we can pack up and go to different spots whenever we want to. Like if there's a part of town that we parked in and we're like, I don't know if I really want to be here, we can just move. And we can also use this as like our vacation home too, like in between assignments. So I'm going on about 3.5 weeks off, and we've been able to do like so much in between. So I didn't realize like how much we would like continue to travel like in between assignments like we have been.
Do you find that, this is my question, do you find that there is a money saving aspect to it as well? Do you find yourself, being able to save money based on that lifestyle? Do you think that based on the supplies that you buy and the other things that you do, it kind of evens out. I'm curious to get your take on that.
So I haven't travel nursed out like without an RV. So that's, I have
Okay.
only done it with the RV. There in the beginning, it's a lot to buy and get. Whether you buy used and you go small, there's just a lot of things that you have to get for the RV to make your travels safe and keep your RV like long lasting. Also, if you do have breakdowns in an RV, they can be expensive or a lot of work. We've learned that fixing it on our own is usually like the best way to go. So I think it kind of evens out. I don't think I sometimes think it's cheaper. Like our rent for land is like definitely like cheaper than like rent in Washington. Like now, like usually we've always paid like less than $1,000 a month for rent. But then if you are going and you have a new RV and you have an RV payment on top of that, like that, and you add all that in, I think sometimes it could be pricier than just getting an apartment, but the flexibility that you have to pack up and leave, like there's the pros and cons. It just depends on what like matters to you most. But I don't necessarily think it is an extremely money saving thing.
So
like
if somebody, yeah, I was going to say, so if somebody is saying, I'd like to do that, I think I could save a lot of money and put some extra money in my pocket, it probably is not the best reason to do the RV living, correct?
I would agree with that. I think, I mean, you can also look at your RV as a type of an investment. You know, it's something that you own. You at least have that, instead of just like putting like, rent into an apartment, like you are putting part of it into something that is yours. But yeah, I wouldn't say jumping in all in. It's like completely 100% for like money saving tactics.
Okay. Rachel, we're getting a lot of questions here. You want to take a couple? It looks like Daniel's got one. Krista's got one. Shannon has a comment. So I'll throw it over to you.
Well, Daniel, which I've been seeing Daniel in every session, so thank you, Daniel.
Thank you for your support, Daniel.
Yes. What does your partner do? Whose idea was it to become nomadic, and how much convincing was needed for the change?
Good question.
So this one comes as a surprise, but it was actually my husband 100%. He is not a nurse, but he works fully online for a company called Vacasa. So he works like a 9 to 5. Just at home with Wi-Fi. And it was really his idea, and he had to convince me. It was the whole package. He wanted to try minimalism. He wanted to live in the RV. He wanted to renovate an RV, all of that. And I was a little bit like shell shocked in the beginning, because I was like, whoa, I don't know if I can do that. Like, I don't know if I can like live in an RV actually. But he convinced me, and we tried it. And that's why we started out small. That's why we got a used RV in the beginning. Because we're like, if we hate it, we sell it. We're not like in some crazy debt over this RV. But we realized we don't even like right now, I don't even want to like live in a house. I'd rather like live in my RV for the rest of my life.
Really?
I'm getting to that point. I don't have an RV, but I would love to just go walk outside and be in nature just instantly. Don't have to drive it.
Yeah.
Krista asked, which this is kind of the same. What is your favorite place you've stayed in your RV so far?
So my favorite so far has been Flagstaff, which was my most recent assignment. It was the first place that we didn't actually stay at a campground. We stayed on private land. It was really nice to like be like in a different setting, and usually people that have enough space for an RV pad have a decent amount of land, so it just felt like we weren't like on top of anyone else like at a campground. So that was really cool. And then also Flagstaff is just near so many fun things to do outside, and you're not too far. Like we were 45 minutes from Sedona, we were an hour from the Grand Canyon, and then you're like 3 hours from the Utah border. So far that's been like the most like fun assignment. Even during COVID, because everything we did was an outside activity. Yep.
That's cool. Kimberly said, I planned to do this 10 years ago, got the truck first, then never followed through and did it. You can use stipend money to go toward paying your rent, and in the end, you have a camper for yourself instead of getting nothing by renting.
Yes. I'd agree with that. It's, you know, whatever's like most important to you, but I mean, at the end of the day, you do have something you own. So.
And this one's funny because we were talking about this earlier. Krista said, I love Flagstaff. What time of year were you there? So cold in the winter.
You had mentioned that in our prep for the call.
Yes. So we were there during the winter. My assignment started at the end of November, and then it just ended, like 3 weeks ago. So we were there during a really cold time. It was freezing every single night. So it was a little bit different RV life. We had a lot of prep that went in every day. There's things like we couldn't just leave our water hooked up constantly. Every day we had to fill our water tank and kind of monitor how much water we had in there for splitting showers, washing dishes, making sure you had enough to brush your teeth the next morning. Because if you stay hooked up, it will freeze, and your pipes will freeze, your hose freezes. You're just kind of out of luck for a little bit there. But that was the first time we had really camped in extreme temperatures like that. And you will spend a lot of money in propane because that's how we heat ourselves.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, I am like totally non-mechanical, so I had no idea how to heat it. So it is propane heat.
Yes, most RVs are propane heat. Okay. Our RV that we have now has a propane and electric heater, but in that cold, we just have to go strictly propane. So you'll go through a lot of propane if it's freezing at night, and that's another budget thing you have to add in there. Like now that we're much warmer temps, we won't be using as much propane, so that helps.
Just out of curiosity, I'm in the New England area. I know propane can be expensive. Just even the small things you use for gas grills and what have you. If during the cold weather, how many things of propane were you going through a week, and how much did it cost?
So we have 30-gallon tanks, I believe, okay. 2 of them. And if it was freezing every single night, they'd only last us about 3 to 4 days. So we were going out, every time we were going out to get groceries or something, we were always just like keeping like tanks in our truck to, get them filled. And then out in Flagstaff is not a cheap place to live. Really? It's gotten a lot more expensive. So the propane there was pretty expensive. It was between $2 and $3 a gallon. But it was only like $1.50, $1.60. So that was pretty cool. But it's also not freezing here, so the demand isn't there.
Now, how do you wash your clothes? Do you have like a little washer and dryer, or do you just go to like a laundromat?
So our RV has both of the RVs we have hookups to put a washer and dryer in. However, they're always like located in the bedroom, so that's partially like closet space. Our old RV, the spot where the hookups were, was my husband's closet, and I was not willing to share my closet with him. So we didn't have a washer and dryer there. And then here also we don't have one. We can put one in, but I don't know. I'm not willing to give up the space yet for that. And I know some people have good success with them, but a lot of times they're like the washer and dryers that like dry and clean it, and they're just not as efficient. So you can only do like a little. They'd probably be great for scrubs. Like I've thought about that. I'm like, that'd be great for like just a quick 3 days worth of scrubs, and then I'm done. But we use a laundromat, drop off laundry, but most of the time we use laundromats, and it's worked.
Cool. Kimberly asked, is it hard to sleep in a campground with the noise?
So a lot of campgrounds we've been at, they haven't really been too noisy. They usually have like quiet hours anyways. Like most of the time you're not supposed to be loud between the hours of like 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. But we do have a white noise machine that we've gotten pretty addicted to. So now we can't like sleep without it. But we use the white noise machine. But yeah, I wouldn't say campgrounds have been that noisy. We've been pretty lucky at the ones we've stayed at.
Have you stayed in any really cool ones? I know when we were a while back, we had a little event in this one it was in California, and they had like all these cool murals. Is there any ones that are like super cool and lots of like things to do?
Mm-hmm. So they completely vary. There's one that we stayed in when I worked in Prescott, Arizona, and it was called Verde Ranch, and it was so fun. It had like couple hot tubs, pool, a gym. Like it was like great because it had all these amenities that you paid just the price of a parking lot pad for.
Nice.
So there's all kinds that vary. And then our last spot we stayed in Olympia we were packed all in like sardines, and they had like a park in the back that was really nice. You could like work out in and run around, but they're all different. So yeah.
Right.
How do you find those ones? Do you just search them on just like Google it, or how do you find like ones that you're like, okay, yes, I do want to stay there?
So usually if you're like looking for ones with like lots of amenities, you'll want to use the word resort, because they actually have like RV resorts, campground resort. So those ones will have like more things to do, whether they have bathhouses for you to use, playgrounds for kids, and like hot tubs and pools. So I would use the word like resort when you're Googling. And then you can also use apps like Camp NDM or RV Parky, and they will help you locate like campgrounds and like the price, like you can filter like the price ranges and stuff like that.
Cool.
All right, I'll take this one here. We've got a long one. So Jason says, first of all, I'll start from the end of his question. He says, welcome to Auburn, fun hikes. So it sounds like he's out in your area.
Oh yeah.
All right. Okay. And then he said, did you finance your truck and trailer?
Yes. So we have financed our truck and trailer, and estimate. So, I mean, yeah, since we decided to completely like go all in and we love RV life, we went with the more like, I don't say expensive route, because it is our house that we live in full time. So we had to get a 3500 Ram for this trailer specifically. And this is a brand new Keystone, Montana. So we are financing our truck, but it's also like our everyday vehicle as well. So that doubles as it's our tow vehicle, but we also use it for life.
Yeah, that was for those that can't see this. He said, based on your monthly living expenses, could you estimate the RV living? And he says he's trying to weigh it out versus renting an apartment.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, apartment renting is still expensive. And like I have multiple friends that have decided like, oh, I think I'm just going to get an RV, because you're just dumping money into something else. So you might as well like own something. So like our trailer ended up being like, it was like a $70,000 trailer. So we financed that. And then our truck is a financed truck. And then on top of that, like our pad here in Washington is $800 a month. So you will probably have a car payment anyways while you're traveling, and you're going to pay rent somewhere. Granted, you might not have a RV payment with an apartment, but you at least are going to own something, and you have something to live in between assignments, all of that.
Okay. So I'm curious, obviously one of the benefits is the ability to see different places and see different parts of the country and, really get outside. When you're not at work and, your husband has some free time, what do you guys typically try and do? Or do you try and, I would assume you're trying to get outside as much as possible, but are you, doing hikes? Do you guys like to run? Do you just kind of, check out the nearest cities? I mean, give me an idea of what you do for fun and how the RV life kind of helps to facilitate that.
Sure. So we definitely like hiking. I'd say that's like our number one activity that we're always like trying to do. We're always researching hikes. It's something that we both equally enjoy. Mason's a huge golfer. If I'm busy or if I'm at work on the weekends, he's golfing. It's 100%.
Right. I like him.
He's really excited to play Chambers Bay because we're really close to that
Excellent.
right now.
I'm jealous.
And then we really love like hitting like local breweries and like wineries. Like when we were in Virginia, I think there was a winery like every 5 miles, and it was so fun. I was like hiking in wineries. That's what we did. So yeah, I think hiking is the most like common thing we do. I think we might get into like some car camping here. Like we might try to drive like 4 hours like north, get into like Port Angeles area and do like some quick like weekend car camping, because our RV is a lot to pack up just for like a one night thing. Whereas like that's why like if you would want to do like the camper van idea, you have some different like flexibility. Like we can pack it up and go. It's just a big trailer to like move for just like 1 or 2 nights.
Do you see a lot of or meet a lot of other travel nurses that are doing RV living or similar when you're on assignment? I mean, obviously, Rachel is our community manager. She has been getting information from the community and finding out some of the topics that they want to talk about. And this was very, very high on the list. It seems like we're seeing a lot of interest and discussion on this, but I was just curious to see, have you bumped into other people when you're on assignment that are traveling, they're doing the same thing as you? What are you seeing for trends, and are you experiencing it directly with others?
I would say it's definitely becoming a trend. We've met our first couple in Arizona last time we were there, and they both were in an Airstream so we've met quite a few. I would say the most like outdoorsy areas are gonna like bring those people. Like in Flagstaff, I probably had 3 or 4 other coworkers that lived in an RV. So I think that the places that you go will like bring those type of people. I don't really have a desire to ever work like in New York City or like Los Angeles. So I don't think like most RVers are going to go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if people are considering this? I mean, you've mentioned some of the benefits, of which there are many, but just with kind of full transparency, what are some of the things that you may want to tell people to be thoughtful about or be careful about before they decide to go this route? What are some of the downsides that people may not realize about this that you found?
It's RVs break. RVs and those, they are a lot of fun, and then they can be a lot of stress. We have blown tires and we've broken leaf springs on the side of the road, and usually it's always in the middle of nowhere. And like we've even thought about getting like one of those like Garmin phones, because we've been places where we don't have cell service at all, and if we would have like blown a tire, it could have been a horrible experience. So there's some things like that it can be like risky, and we're traveling with a very huge vehicle, and it's scary if you got in a car accident, one of these. Like there's like multiple things that are like that can be like pretty scary. And that's probably the hardest, is like RV repair, of like you can have leaks easily, and then you're out of water for a while, and you're like just things like that. It's probably like RV repairs would be the hardest.
Have you hit any of those like thin roads, like mountain roads or anything like that, where you've had to be like, either fall off the road or, crash into like the side of anything, or have you been pretty lucky on that?
Coming out west, you're definitely going to see roads like that. So we've driven on some pretty sketchy things, but my husband does a really good job. He's like definitely the more calm one of us. So I just like have totally like let him deal with that. But yeah, we've been in some pretty sketchy spots, and since we are one of the bigger RVs on the road, it really isn't you don't really get much longer than us. Like we're about as long as a semi truck. So you have to be careful about certain roads you take. Like there's bridges that are too low. So there's actually a bridge that was really close to where we were pulling in, and we didn't notice it. We noticed it after we were already parked, but we were like, thank God we did not drive down that road, because we wouldn't have made it. We would have had, we wouldn't have made
it. You would have had a convertible RV, right? Just taking the top right off it.
Yeah.
A sunroof for your RV. So speaking of difficult situations, Krista asks, is there a AAA for RVs or similar? When you mention coverage, how do you work your coverage?
Yes. So you can do the Good Sam insurance. We did that in the beginning. Okay. And then they do have AAA for RVs. I believe my parents have that. And then we actually just use Geico, like our regular Geico, like car insurance. Like we just added on RV to that. And you can also get a full timers insurance. So you can pay a little bit more to have like more coverage. But yeah, they have insurance companies are now coming out with a full-time living like insurance for RVs.
Yeah, speaking of the Good Samaritan insurance, that's what Kimberly had mentioned. Good Samaritan insurance covers RV roadside assistance. That's good information, because I would not have thought of that. It's one thing to have a car and have some form of roadside assistance, but you're right. With, unfortunately, everything that can possibly go wrong with an RV, where do you go? what do you want to do? And it's not as easy as just, pulling over and changing a flat tire. Sounds like there's a lot that can go wrong, and you're dealing with a large piece of equipment.
Yeah, because there's some places, like when we blew our tire, certain people won't come out and change an RV tire. So they have to have like the right jacks and things like that. So if you get the roadside assistance for RVs, then they'll lead you to people that will do that for you.
That's good.
What do you do for, obviously one of the benefits of travel nursing is not only seeing new places, but, meeting new people, making friends in different places and so forth. As you've had your different assignments, do you entertain friends? And as if you've made friends on assignment, you have them, back to the RV or back to the park, or how do you guys work that? I mean, I'm assuming it's kind of crowded in there, so you're probably going to want to have some sort of party outside. How do you work that?
Yeah. So before COVID, we did things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's kind of been, you just play it by ear, but our RV is a little bit bigger, so we can have people over. We did have like a Thanksgiving dinner one time, like just with like 2 other people, but we did like try to have one. And so yeah, we will invite people over like a campfire if the campgrounds allow it. We did that more like in North Carolina and in Arizona, but then when COVID happened, we really haven't done much of that. We probably could have done some in Arizona recently if we just stayed outside and things like that. But probably here, if there's other people that want to come out, we'll have them over, and we can fit a couple people at our table. And our newer RV now has a lot more space, like sitting space. So if we need to be inside, we can.
And in terms of food, I would imagine that the storage space and refrigerator area is fairly small. Do you find yourself shopping once a week? Or are you going on a daily basis? How do you work the food shopping and food storage?
So being in a fifth wheel, that's another positive thing of being in one. We have a pretty normal size fridge. So we do like regular grocery shopping. I would say like my like dry goods pantry is a lot smaller than a normal like pantry would be. But fridge wise, like our freezer is pretty big. Like we do like pretty regular shopping. And our other RV was a little bit smaller, but for 2 people, it worked out just fine. If you're getting into the smaller rigs, like you're doing van life, things like that, you're going to have more like a cooler sized refrigerator. So you probably would have to go more often. But fifth wheel is pretty normal life when it comes to that.
Okay. So you've got room. You don't have to be shopping every day or running out every 20 minutes to get something to eat. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What in terms of obviously, we see you sitting outside there, and one of the benefits is kind of minimalist and being close to nature. In any of your travels, have you had any close encounters with any wildlife, any raccoons trying to get into your RV, any bears trying to invade your campsite? I mean, how have you handled that? Have you been able to avoid that?
We have not really had any like weird encounters like that.
That's good.
But I would say something that we are like conscious about is like making sure we don't have like a rat problem and things like that, because when it's cold and sometimes you leave your trash outside to take it out in the morning or something like that. Like we try to make sure like for like rodents, things like that isn't a problem. But we actually haven't had really a problem with like a lot of stray cats, which I don't mind. They have tried to come in our RV. That has happened multiple times. They'll see like my cats like hanging out, and they'll like the stray cats will like want to be friends, and they'll try to come inside. But we haven't had any like bears or mountain lions or anything.
That's a good thing. That is a good thing. Speaking of cats, Rachel, I'll let you take this one. Daniel has a question about your cats, Katherine.
2 cats. How many litter boxes do you have, and where are you placing them in your fifth wheel?
So we only have 1 litter box, but we have, I'd probably say like the bigger size litter box that you get at the pet store. So just 1. And then right now we have it placed like in our like dinette area. It's kind of like underneath a chair. It's not the best spot in the RV we have now, but our older RV had a great little spot underneath the TV where like an electric fireplace would go. We didn't have one. So it was just like this big empty box area, and we put a curtain and the litter box went in there, and like it wasn't really visible. But we're thinking about building like a bench seat and maybe like sticking the litter box like in the bench seat and like having like a door flap. You can really get like pretty creative with it. So some people have made them like underneath like a day bed area. They've like just made the whole like underneath the couch like a litter box area. So there's ways to like hide it, but that's what we do now.
So in terms of kind of, we talked about when you have some free time, you guys are trying to get outside and do your thing. But if the weather is not conducive, or you guys, aren't up for hiking or anything like that, what are you guys doing? After hours, do you find yourself with minimalist living? Do you find yourself reading more? Do you have any hobbies, anything like that? I mean, one of the things I think of with minimalist living is essentially kind of a more of a focus on quiet time, whether it's reading or some form of hobby or painting or something like that. Do you guys do anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say I read more, but I don't really as much. I do like to, I'll probably talk to my friends like on Instagram or do more with my page. That's like kind of things that I'll do in my free time to actually be honest. My husband has a pretty cool setup for playing video games, so he'll do that if it's like raining outside. But I do feel like a lot of times I'm constantly like planning like when my days off are and like how much stuff I can fit into like my days off. So I'll go on like Pinterest and like try to find hikes and like places to go. And sometimes that can be like pretty time consuming. So that's like a really good like rainy day activity for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, sorry, Rachel, go ahead.
You go ahead. You're fine.
Well, I was just going to say it's, you are a little bit predicated upon the weather. So it must be, you have plans when it's not good weather. Here's what you're going to do. And it sounds like you plan for when there is good weather. So.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I was going to ask too, you're talking about like the video games and stuff like that. And I know personal experiences sometimes like men can get kind of loud when they're playing video games. And so like, how do you, no offense men or anybody, how do you like, you're in a small confine, like how do you, if you need time to yourself or like, how do you guys like not getting on each other's nerves or, you're in this tiny spot and you don't want to hurt each other.
Well, I guess we're pretty lucky because I don't ever really feel like I need to like have my own space and things like that. Like we're like okay with like constantly like being right next to each other. I'm okay with it. Maybe he's not, but I'm fine with it. So I mean, like I don't mind if he like plays his video games. He does actually get really loud playing games with like his friends and stuff online. But with the fifth wheel, we're able to like I can close off the bedroom and like turn like the sound machine on if I want to go to bed early, like for work. So like we've made that work really well. Like he can still like stay up all night if he wants to and like be loud, and the sound machine will like be fine with the door closed. And we have like blackout curtains. So like, I mean, if I want to go to bed like 8 or 9 o'clock, I can. We've made that part work.
Nice.
Well, Daniel asked, speaking of kind of entertainment and so forth and video games, he says, how's your Wi-Fi and what service are you using?
So that's also a struggle, and you never know, like really once you get to a spot, like how it's going to be. So we use hotspots. We use Verizon hotspot. That's what we've done for the most, our entire time. But then we recently just bought another hotspot with AT&T, and having the dual hotspots like really helps because certain areas of the country are like better for Verizon and one's better for AT&T. So especially for Mason who like works fully online, one always works a little bit better. So we have both now, and then we make sure that we get a plan that is unlimited and doesn't like throttle you. And a good tip right now, FirstNet is doing a tip for first responders. So if you get in on that now, they won't like throttle your internet. So if you're a nurse, you can get another hotspot.
Very cool. Very cool. Rachel, looks like we have one from Diana.
Yeah, Diana wants to know, do you drive when the RV is attached to the truck? Like, are you ever driving with it attached?
So Mason always drives. I have not actually like drove the RV. So our setup is a truck, and then it's a travel trailer. So like if you see the kind of, or Google fifth wheel, but it's the kind that like goes like into the truck bed a little bit. So we drive with the RV attached, if that answers the question. Yeah.
So Rachel, I'm thinking for a future session, we could have Lorraine and Katherine do a combo presentation. So Katherine, yesterday we had a travel nurse, Lorraine Wheeler, and she is an expert on cooking on the road. If you ever watch the TV show Chopped, she was the Chopped champion. She is a travel nurse. So we had her on yesterday, and she gave us some great tips on cooking on the road. We could combine the two of you, like cooking in an RV.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be really cool.
You could share your favorite recipes in terms of cooking on the road, and we could have Lorraine join you. So, all right, looking for any other questions here. I think we've covered most of them, Rachel, right? Are we missing anybody's questions? We've had a lot of them. We've had a lot of great questions, which is great. A lot of people, as I said, are very, very interested in this topic, Katherine. And again, it's great to talk to you in terms of personal experience. It's one thing to kind of have people sharing information in our Facebook group. It's another thing to talk to somebody that's actually living it. So this is you're currently on your 6th assignment, and all of them have been RV living, correct?
Yes, 100%.
That is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I think we have covered everybody's questions. In the last few minutes here, Katherine, is there any other piece of advice that you would give people that would be considering going on assignments in an RV? And again, positives, negatives. I think it's good to give, make sure people get kind of both sides of the equation here. Anything we've missed, or anything you want to pass along?
I guess I would just pass on that if you are okay with like taking the risk with, having to fix things yourself and being on the road a lot, it's been super rewarding to like live this lifestyle. And it's taught us so many things too, and given us a different perspective on like just how to live, and that living on the road can like feel pretty normal. So I'm definitely like a big supporter of it. So
I did have another question.
Yeah.
How do you stay safe? When you stay at the RV parks, like, do you worry about anyone breaking in, or do you like have like a camera system or anything that kind of gives you some extra protection?
Yeah, so you can totally have like we have a Ring camera. I believe it's one of those, and it's since those do run off of Wi-Fi, so it's like not all the time it's not like on. But there have been parks where we have been at that have felt a little bit more on the sketchy side. So we prop it up like right above our door, and it's like constantly recording. And we just make sure like all of our doors are like locked on the outside. We try not to keep like things outside, but really it hasn't been like too bad. I really like having like the blackout curtains and like the blackout shades, so people like can't like see inside. And I know a lot of times it's like fun to have like the pretty curtains and like all the beautiful RV renovated ones, but I like need to have like that security feeling, and you cannot see inside like our RV at night with those blackout shades. So that's like my number one like security thing to say.
Well, in closing here, Katherine, you're getting some props. Katya says, thank you so much, Katherine, for all the information. Very interesting. Sounds like she's considering travel nursing in an RV. We have Krista says, this has been so wonderful. Thank you, Katherine. Let me see. We have Shannon. Shannon says, very brave and very efficient, which is a nice compliment. I would have to agree on both parts. It's brave and efficient. That is excellent.
It's really brave to throw out a lot of your clothes to go through, like, you know what I mean? To go through all of your things in your apartment, you got to figure out what clothes, what shoes, what
matters the most, what's actually a need.
Yeah.
What do you need? Oh.
That's a really good point. I think, right, I guess by the definition of minimalist living, it's not what it is what you need. I think we probably all live with really more than we need, and kind of doing what you guys do, which is very admirable, is kind of, reducing things down to just what you need, right? And
Yes.
I guess it's about experience as well. I mean, and I know that's one of the reasons, while I'm not a travel nurse myself, but having been around it for a while, I know that's one of the things that many travel nurses talk about is really the experience. And I guess there's no better way to experience an assignment than being in the outdoors where you are and seeing all the different, beautiful locations and really getting a chance to see nature. So, so that has to be another benefit. And Daniel, who's been very active, and Daniel, we appreciate your support. Daniel says, thank you very much for the information. So you have helped out a lot of people tonight, Katherine. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything you do. Diana says, this has been great. She's got many ideas from this. So thank you for donating your time today. And this has been very, very interesting and a whole different aspect of travel nursing that I've not been familiar with. So it's been an education for me. I think you've helped out a lot of people. So thank you for donating your time. I know you're busy. I know free time is precious. So thank you for taking the hour with us and sharing your information. And as a travel nurse and doing what you do, I want to thank you for everything that you do. I know in particular, it's been a really, really difficult, 12 months or so for people in travel nursing. So thank you for what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Great. Well, we're going to have you back. And like I said, I have to say, I kind of like my idea. I'd love to connect Lorraine Wheeler with you, and we'll do, gourmet travel nurse cooking while on the road in an RV. I think that'd be a great session. So we gotta get you guys this summer.
Sounds good. I like it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katherine.
That was great. Well, thank you everyone for your comments, and they were all great questions. Tomorrow we're definitely going to dig in deeper to the minimalist living with Meg and Ty. They actually live in a van, so a little bit smaller than the fifth wheel. So we're excited to have them on. They're going to be on at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then before that, we do have how to choose the right recruiter and agency from some TNAA folks. They're the head recruiters and some travel nurses on there too. So it's going to be a big day tomorrow.
It certainly is. And we're at end of day 3 here. And Rachel, again, I want to thank you on behalf of the team for putting together all these fantastic sessions. And I know the community is very appreciative of all the information that you're bringing to them. And it's great to see all the interaction, all of the comments that people have coming in. And I feel, really good about the information that's being passed along from travel nurses and travel nursing experts to the community. So I know I've personally learned a lot. The minimalist living, I don't know if it's for me. I mean, for me, minimalist or roughing it is like, no ketchup on my hamburger, that sort of thing. So I don't know if I'd be cut out for minimalist living, but I'm learning a lot. And that was a great session from Katherine. And yeah, tomorrow's going to be exciting. So we'll get ready for another great day of our virtual conference tomorrow.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you all tomorrow.